Hello, wherever you're tuning in from. This is the Investors Corner, where we discuss cross-cutting issues with me, Tech Stephen Good. And in this episode, I'm glad to be joined by the Minister of Mining, Honorable Martin Gamabuja. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us your time. We are here to talk basically about the Ministry of Mining, what the ministry does, and your plans to improve the country's minerals and resources in an interest that will benefit the people of South Sudan. And it is from this perspective that I would like to begin by asking you, since you assumed this office recently, what are your plans of bettering this ministry, exploring the country's minerals in a way that will benefit the common people of South Sudan?
Thank you, Tech. First and foremost, also my pleasure to be with you. The role of the Ministry of Mining is to regulate the minerals in the country and also to be able to extract these minerals so that it can contribute to the resource envelope of the country. But unfortunately, this has not happened. So my role here is really to develop this ministry so that we can actually employ our people. Investors can come in, and once they invest, we have people working, people paying taxes, then the government collects revenue. And this is my goal, the overall goal. But there are a number of things that we must do before we can get there.
And can you briefly take us about the type of minerals that are found in South Sudan, where to find them, and what kind of investors will your ministry be looking into to direct them? And also, have your ministry conducted a mapping of where these resources can be found in South Sudan, the type of these minerals, and how they can be mined?
Thank you. South Sudan is endued with many resources, special minerals. There has been a challenge that we do not know actually all the minerals we have. What we just know is some very basic information collected from back by different investors or maybe different studies undertaken. But in South Sudan, there's potential of gold, which we know people just pan and just find gold. There is diamond, there is silver, there is copper. There's a studies undertaken in Ofranahas, where the estimated quantity of copper there is about 40 million tons. There is lime. A full study was undertaken in the Capoeira area. There is other minerals, there's also energy minerals, such as diamond, such as uranium, and others. Of course, you have the industrial minerals, such as lime, cement, clay, and other sand, which are all available. Now, where do they occur? Had we done a geological mapping, we would have known a lot more about what we have. A geological map will have given South Sudan what type of minerals we have, 1, 2, where they occur, 3, in what quantities they occur, 4, the qualities. So a geological mapping will be very, very important to us so that when an investor comes, now we tell them exactly what do we have and where do we have them. But currently, we are not doing that yet. We are just trying to undertake a survey so that we can provide that information. Hopefully, if the resources are available, I'll want to start take the geological survey this year. It's a lot of work, but it has to start.
And since the country and your ministry has not yet conducted geological mapping and survey, there is also reports of some sort of illegal mining across the country. Does your ministry conduct some sort of control and regulation to some mining areas to ensure that all mining activities are done in coordination with the government?
Indeed, we hear a lot. Some places we have not reached to, especially, not all minerals are easy to extract. The easiest to extract is actually gold. So you hear people are extracting gold here, most of it is artisanal. Yes, over the years, we licensed about 91 exploration licenses we were given out to companies. 16 small-scale licenses were issued out, but most of these companies are not operational. Some tried a little bit, like in Gorom, 3 or 4 companies tried, they all shut down, said they are not finding what they're looking for. Number of companies were licensed in different areas, but they never operated. Some companies actually never operated. But of recent, we have licensed a few companies. They're starting work actually They have started work actually last week. So we'll hope to hear more from them as what is going on. But we are assigning staff from the ministry to supervise this work of these companies that are registered, and those are operating. But of course, in the bushes, you cannot patrol all everywhere. But our plan is to go if we get all the support we need, because we need vehicles, we need camping equipment so that our staff can go and monitor. So we have a challenge of vehicles, we have a challenge of logistics, and then other things that we need to have to be in place so that we can be able to monitor the minefields very well. Yeah. But that's the long-term plan we want to do.
Yes, and in the process of attracting investors to visit the country and invest in that sector, most of the time it require them to have some sort of a sample of what they are going into. And also that would also, the same question will lead into if South Sudan has some sort of a reserve for gold or for whichever minerals that are available to show as a sample and also to keep as a reserve.
You know, we have not yet reached the reserve level yet. Once we have done a geological survey, then we have all the information. Now it becomes bankable. And that now becomes our reserve. We have not reached that. We have general information. So when investors come today, they don't go straight into mining. We give them an exploration license so that they can go and explore and find out what is there. Once they've determined what is there and they're satisfied that it is at commercial quantities, now they come back to us and request for a mining license. This is the second stage of undertaking this work. They have to know first what is there. That's why we issue an exploration license. Then after that, we can issue them a mining license if they're satisfied that whatever they have seen is of commercial value.
And also mining comes with some sort of side effects. Like we understand that some mining can also lead to land degradation and environmental issues. What are the guidelines that the ministry puts in place to ensure that the mining companies do not affect our environment?
The laws on mining are very clear. The laws and regulations are very clear. During exploration, we expect very little work to be done because about drilling, collecting samples, and testing. But once you get into mining, there's very strict regulations on that, where you have to comply with what the rules are. You must ensure that any environment you disturb has to be restored so that can be reused for any purpose, call it agriculture, call it settlement, call it whatever it is. The land must be reused. Of course, mining also comes with chemicals. So we also have to regulate chemicals, how they're used, how they're disposed, and so forth. So indeed, yes, it is very destructive, so it has to be properly managed. But that's when you go to mining stage, that's when we come in and say, no, we have to sign this agreement. This is how we are going to restore the land. It has to be a full program of how you're going to restore the land after you finish doing mining.
Yes, and Honorable Minister, mining and all the investment in general go hand in hand with stability. And stability is assured by peace. We have seen the implementation of the Revitalized Peace Agreement, which is ensuring some sort of stability, but it's not yet well enough to reach out to other remote areas of the country. How important is peace for investment, especially for mining, which are most of the time out of the modern areas, like in the remote areas? How important is peace for this sector to be viable?
Actually, peace is the cornerstone of anything. Most, like you said, mining happens in rural areas. Peace is very, very important for us if we have to be able to attract investors. Everybody wants to guarantee their returns. Without peace, you cannot guarantee returns. So therefore, it becomes very, very difficult to attract investors. But that's not the only challenge we have in mining. The other challenge we have in mining is also infrastructure. To be able to undertake mining, especially if you want to do large-scale mining, you need power. So also having no power is another huge challenge in this industry. The other challenge is actually roads. Most mines are far away from where our roads are. You need to have roads to go to these mining areas. So there are huge challenges. But again, to have power, to have all this infrastructure, you need security first. So security is very, very important, and it must be a priority for the country. And that takes into the implementation of the Revitalized Peace Agreement. If we implement the Revitalized Peace Agreement, especially Chapter 2, which is to do with security, this will address the concerns of investors, in particularly the securing their investors. Because in mining, They're bringing equipment worth sometimes even $500 million or even $1 billion. So they don't want to lose them.
Good. And hold that thought, Honorable Minister. We are going for just 1 minute break, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
We are going for a short break. The Investors Corner is back shortly. Stay tuned. There are plenty of investment opportunities in this world's youngest nation of South Sudan. To better understand the economy and explore the thriving market of this country, you ought to get out of your comfort zone. You either hustle under the scorching sun in Konyo Konyo market, run errands at a small or medium business enterprise, or better yet, chair a conglomerate board meeting at a high-end tower in Juba. While awaiting an official business trip to the region. Whatever you do, just don't rest. Work hard, think big, and be smart in order to count all your economic blessings through this weekly business show of the Investors Corner, exploring hidden treasures. Join us every week at this time. Welcome back. This is the Investors Corner with me, Tech Stephen Ogut, and as I mentioned earlier, I am joined by the Minister of Mining, Honorable Martin Gama Abuja. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
And we are talking about the Ministry of Mining and how to make mining sector a viable sector in South Sudan. And you are narrating about some of the challenges that you just mentioned, the power issue and the road infrastructure to the mining side, which happen most of the time to be in remote areas or rural areas. But also we would like to know about the revenues itself that your ministry projects if all these challenges are addressed, like the issue of power, the issue of roads, and the peace in itself. What is the viability in terms of revenue generation of the mining sector? What are we looking at from the projection?
At this point of time, it's very difficult to say what a projection could be. The reason is because we have not done our geological survey. But if we had done our geological survey, and based on the information we have, very roughly, South Sudan lies on the Rift Valley. We know a lot of what's happening in the Rift Valley, the type of minerals extracting. We also, the Congo Basin, which borders directly South Sudan, all the way from the Raja side, all the way to Central Equatoria and Western Equatoria. You can tell we have a lot of minerals. And if we're able to really undertake our geological, we can probably tell you, you may not even need oil. You may not need oil at all. And this is the direction, by the way, in a few years, give it 20 years, 30 years, with the technology, with the needs of today, the environmental issues, oil may become irrelevant. So you'll have to depend probably exclusively on minerals and maybe agriculture and other resources. So at this point, it's not easy to say what it is, but I am confident after the survey is done, it will be the source of income for South Sudan.
And mining also, apart from the degradation and environmental factors that comes with it, at some point, if the minerals in a particular place is considered to be in high reserve, it might, in one way or another, affect the communities living in those areas, maybe to be displaced or affected in one way or another. What usually are the plans, to compensate such communities who are residing in mineral reserve areas? And also, what kind of creation of awareness is the ministry doing to ensure that local communities who reside in such areas are aware of what kind of minerals are available in those areas?
The law is very clear. If a certain type of minerals has been detected in a particular place, and there's a community settlement there, it is the obligation of the company that wants to undertake the exploration or the mining of that mineral to resettle these people. They have to be resettled to a condition that exactly or similar to where they used to live. They have to find an alternative place. If they had schools here, you have to rebuild schools there for them. If they had water points here, you also have to put water points where you are settling them. So you have to make their life even better than where they used to live. So yes, it's an obligation. The company, the government has to ensure the company resettles these people.
And does the same strategy that is used by petroleum or the oil sector of having some sort of a quota for the local community also applies to mining?
Yes, the law makes it very clear as a government, we collect royalties. Out of the royalties collected, 3% goes back to the community where that particular mineral was extracted, and 2% goes to that particular state where that mineral was extracted from. So that's why the laws we are made that way. We don't collect taxes, we collect royalties as a ministry. Now, when the person goes sells the gold or sells the minerals, that's when the taxes kicks in.
And the exploration, the mining and all this, are they restricted to the private sector? Does your ministry allocate the rights to the companies that are interested in exploring in certain area, or also government has plans of establishing a public sector that can be directly involved in exploration of these minerals in the future when all these challenges are addressed?
Yes, the government has a plan to establish its own corporation where it will also be involved in mining, in exploration as well, and that's actually part of the responsibility of the ministry. But also the private sector has free rights. They can apply and issue licenses. But if the government determines, for example, particular areas of interest to the government has the right to hold it, not to lease it out.
And recently we have seen the Ministry of Mining and other concerned line ministries conducting a joint meeting with the financial sector, the bank, the central bank, and the Ministry of Finance. Could you briefly explain to us what was the meeting about and what were the outcomes of such meetings?
Well, the meeting was really about trying to bring out understanding about this ministry. Very few people pay attention to this ministry and they don't know much what's happening. So our whole role was to try to enlighten people, bring the awareness, particularly to the institutions that should be able to support, develop this sector. We met with the commercial banks because we want them also to come in to support, especially small-scale miners, and so that they can begin to contribute. Because we also have plans to establish mineral trading centers, so that instead of our people taking our minerals out of South Sudan, they have a place they can take it to and officially sell it. So if we have a place where we can trade our minerals, then every day we know how much was bought, and we can now begin to quantify and see how much is contributing to our even economy. So that is the whole purpose, is the awareness. And we have started here. We're going to go to the states and also do the same awareness. We'll also be calling the governors and the ministers involved in mining to come, so that we have a workshop, so that we have a dialogue and see how can we work together to improve this industry, because it can significantly contribute to the livelihood of the people. In some places where there is mining, like Maban, there are people who live off just doing that. In Capoeira area, there are people who live just doing that. You come to Udabi area, like in central Equatoria, and you go to western Baragazal, there are people who live doing this. So it can contribute to the economy, but need to be organized.
And as we wind up the program, your takeaway point?
Most important, the government needs to support us, support this ministry, so that we can develop. So we develop the mines, we can patrol them better, we police them, so we can also reduce illegal mining to the lowest level as possible. But more important, we want our minerals to be traded here. We want our people to extract it and also sell it here, so that South Sudan can be known of what it has. But more importantly, we want support to establish one, our geological map, two, our geological laboratory. We don't have a laboratory in South Sudan. Now, samples collected from here are sent outside the country. So we want these things done so that we have control over our data, we have control over what we have in our country, not somebody to tell us what we have, but so we can do it ourselves. We have the expertise. All we need is the resources to be able to undertake this work.
Honorable Martin Gama Bucha, the Minister of Mining, thank you very much for taking your time and giving SSBC an exclusive interview on what your ministry is planning to do. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And this brings us to the end of this program. I've been your host, Tech Stephen Ogut, wishing you a very good time.